The Formula One world returns to Spain for round 7 of the 2020 season. The last time the teams were here, they were all testing the cars ahead of the season's opener, and so this track is usually a chassis-driven circuit. Meanwhile, Mercedes are under pressure in the press with increasing rumors of Verstappen seeking improvement or an exit. Quite on the opposite side of the coin, their main sponsors, Monster Energy, have been thrilled by the performance of the so-called junior team, with both Mick Schumacher and Sophia Flores showing to be future top contenders. Following a chaotic Italian Grand Prix for every single team, most will be hoping for order to be resumed, with Ferrari, Jaguar, and Audi set for a qualifying battle. Reports have come in that Audi will have a small gain in engine performance this weekend after Carlos Sainz insisted the team needed to run their cars more on the edge of its limits like they had done in 2019. But equally, Jaguar looked to be making strides forwards, and Vandoorne is looking once again more comfortable than his teammate throughout practice. Let's take a look now at the starting grid for the 2020 Spanish Grand Prix, and it is Stoffel Vandoorne who takes pole position for the Jaguar team alongside the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, just 4/100ths of a second separating the top two and just a tenth separating the top four. Carlos Sainz for the Audi team will start from third position alongside the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo, 4 different teams in the top 4 in qualifying. In fifth position is the other Ferrari of Antonio Giovinazzi, a few positions down on his teammate. Then comes aarava for the Jaguar team, 5 positions down on his teammate, and starting from the third row of the grid. Pascal Wehrlein for Mercedes will be the lead car for the Silver Arrows, starting from 7th position alongside the McLaren of Kevin Magnussen, completing the 4th row of the grid. Then comes the Haas of Nico Hülkenberg alongside his teammate, both Haas's making it into the top 10, but disappointed with their qualifying with both drivers on the 5th row. Sergio Perez is another man that was disappointed with qualifying. He'll be starting from 11th position, but ahead of Max Verstappen. The world champion could only manage 12th quickest in qualifying. Then comes the Red Bull of Pierre Gasly, kind of a return to form as far as qualifying is concerned for the Red Bull team. He'll be joined on the 7th row by Mick Schumacher in the Monster Rehab team. Then comes Mick's teammate Sophia Flores. She'll be starting from 15th position alongside the other Red Bull of Nico Kari, who does manage to stay away from the back rows of the grid. Then comes the Alfa Romeos with Leclerc once again, as usual, getting the better of Fuoco. The Alfa Romeos, the Williams, and the Renaults are all more than a second off the pace in qualifying trim. Lando Norris will be the lead Williams car from 19th position alongside Valtteri Bottas on the 10th row of the grid, and bringing up the rear, it is Esteban Ocon for Renault and Sergio Camara in the Williams.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver Career Mode, episode number 7 today for Season 6 at the Spanish Grand Prix here at the Circuit de Catalunya. If you did miss the last episode, episode number 6 at the Italian Grand Prix, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Absolutely chaotic Grand Prix and race results there, but afterwards it means that we do lead the Drivers' Championship now from Daniel Ricciardo in 2nd place, and then there's a bit of a gap to Stoffel Vandoorne, as we've seen in the past few rounds, a huge gap to Vandoorne, and then it's all very, very close from Vandoorne all the way down to pretty much P8, I would say, there, with Sergio Perez on 34 points. So very, very tight in the championship, all to play for, and qualifying once again was a very tight affair there, and once again Vandoorne doing a better job than me in the car, to be fair to him, and we find ourselves behind the Ferrari and McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo and Antonio Giovinazzi, but hopefully we can have a good one. Spain is always usually quite a tricky one, higher tyre wear obviously, and I think there also may be a bit of forecast for rain later on this race, so it's going to be very, very interesting. But of course here, this time last year in season 5, 2019, this Spanish Grand Prix was very, very hectic. We had so many late pit stops from the hard tyres there. And I think there was a 5-way scrap for the win eventually here last time out at the Spanish Grand Prix. So this one should be an absolute cracker, as most races are in MyDriver. So here we go. We're lining up to the grid for P6. Decent enough job there in qualifying for us today, I would say, as we're leading the championship. But let's get straight into this then. We go to 5 red lights to the Spanish Grand Prix, round number 7 of the season. 5 lights go out and we're underway. And it is a good start for us compared to Daniel Ricciardo. He bogs down slightly there as we're going to try and get the slipstream, but it's an even better start for Nico Hülkenberg and Pascal Wehrlein there on the left-hand side of us. They're going to try and go side by side with us. We're going to go 3 wide momentarily into turn 1. All lockups there from the Haas car of Hülkenberg's. We lose 2 positions there, 3 positions down to P9. It's been a disaster actually into turn 1, as those 3 cars just had way more speed down to turn 1. I've lost the back end, and at the moment my Jaguar car is not driving as I want it to in a straight line past the first few corners. So we've lost 3 positions there, just so much much extra speed in those first, like, kind of few gears. I don't know, we got a really good initial getaway, and then I just don't know what happened, really. We bogged down in the second phase of the start there, but we're going to try and get on the back of Sergio Perez if we can, going down the inside. This is always a tricky place to make a pass. We're going to try and do it on Perez, and actually, as we go side by side with him banging tyres on the right-hand side on our front right, I kind of remember back to last season and how easy it was to overtake one of these Audi cars into that corner, so you can see the downforce difference and how much Audi have improved in the corners for this season, season 6. So we're still having to defend down the inside to make the pass actually complete of Sergio Perez, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen, because Perez is going to go round the outside of us as we go into sector 3, in the heart of it, on this big, long, swooping hairpin corner, I guess you could say, and we're going to eventually, though, get it round the outside for P8 there, and so that was a very, very hard place to get, and so now we can try and get on the back of the Haas car of Nico Hülkenberg, ahead of him, Pascal Wehrlein, who had a fantastic start there from lower down in the grid, followed by Daniel Ricciardo up ahead of him, and you can see the top pack getting away from us a little bit with the two Ferraris on the tail end of that pack, as all 4 of our cars getting very, very close together as we kind of Constantine are up here going through opening DRS now. We're on to lap 4 now, so it's taken us actually a fair few laps to really close up the Hülkenberg, but now we can make a little bit of a diving move down the inside. We had the speed, overspeed from DRS, of course, and we're up into P7, and we can try and get him back on Wehrlein. Meanwhile, up ahead, it's Carlos Sainz that leads the Spanish Grand Prix from Stoffel Vandoorne to the 2 Ferrari cars. I believe it's Sebastian Vettel and then Antonio Giovinazzi in 4th place there. But that's the lead of the Grand Prix at the moment. We can see that those top 4 getting away from the pack. You can see in the background there of Ricciardo and Wehrlein and myself as we come through the final corner. And maybe as we look on towards Vandoorne, will Vandoorne make a move for P1? Yes, he will. Down the inside for the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. Vandoorne, my teammate, goes round the outside of Carlos Sainz. He's up into the lead of the Grand Prix. Fantastic move for him. Got the speed down the straight, obviously. DRS wide open there, and he's up into P1. And now Carlos Sainz looks like he's falling back a tad after that overtaking move, and he's being susceptible maybe to and passed by one of the Ferrari cars. Meanwhile, we look back at us, and we're chasing after Pascal Wehrlein, just trying to hustle and harry him if we can, and trying to force a move through. As you can see, though, on the bottom right, our tyres are already going off a little bit, so high tyre wear here at the Spanish Grand Prix, just like we had last season. So we may see a lot of pit stops here, and a lot of crazy strategies going on in the Spanish Grand Prix, like we saw last year. You know, I believe it was even a 4-stop last year. It got very, very, very concerning for a lot of teams towards the end of the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix. And so as we move on through the Grand Prix, you can see Vandoorne still leads the way, and he's now getting a bit of a gap to Carlos Sainz there, we saw on the replay camera. Meanwhile, back to us in our POV, you can see I tried to close up on Wehrlein, but we locked up through the last chicane, and that actually means now Hülkenberg, even though we do have DRS, Hülkenberg is going to try and make a move on us. He goes to the right hand side of the circuit. He'll have DRS obviously from me, and so as we go side by side up ahead, it's Wehrlein making a move on Ricciardo, and Hülkenberg tries to make the same move on me, but I defend successfully around the outside for turn 1. But Wehrlein, quite fantastically, is overtaking Daniel Ricciardo. So at the moment, the McLaren Honda's really struggling, but talking about struggling, look at that, through turn 3, full opposite lock there, turning left into a right-hander. Right now, at the moment, this car is really not working for me, not working with me, whereas Vandoorne seemingly seems pretty damn comfortable up ahead. I'm really having to fight the car and wrestle the car through the corners to just keep it flat out through turn 3. And speaking of turn 3, on the very next lap, we're closing up to Ricciardo anyway, so we're going to push on and wrestle this car up the grid if it wants to or not. And as we go to through turn 3, we revved out 5th gear to get the overspeed. We're going to shoot it down the inside at the end of sector 1, side by side with Ricciardo, going to try and squeeze him to the left hand side of the circuit. We got opposite lock once again, tap his side pod a little bit. It's getting very, very close for comfort as we try to go round the outside for Ricciardo. He's going to have some speed to help him defend, and we're going to have to try and go round the outside of this next corner. Very tricky to do. We go a little bit wide to give Ricciardo the room, and it looks like he'll just about still hang around. Yes, he will, around the outside, uphill, 5th gear, just try and get the powers down as early as we can. Open DRS. We've got the move there. We had the inside line. That was always going to be the better line, and behind us, it looked like momentarily there that the Audi car was going to try and make a move on the McLaren as well behind us as we overtaken him, and we're up into P3 because we've had some people make some pit stops while we overtook Ricciardo and while we closed up on him. So as we go through sector 3, I think it may be time for us to make our pit stop. I think Vandoorne was one of the guys that did make a pit stop that previous lap, so hopefully we don't get held up here. I think that's Wehrlein has also come into the pits, and Ricciardo definitely will follow us into the pit stop. So we're both going to he's going to cover us off basically once again in this Grand Prix. Obviously, both of us at the moment, we're the only ones battling out at the very top of the standings in the championship, so it would be kind of logic for Ricciardo to cover us off. You can see there is Verlaine coming out of his pit box. You can see the Ferrari of, I think that was Giovinazzi, already going down the pit lane there. So we've got a lot of work to do if we want to catch that top flight pack of Vandoorne, Sainz, Vettel and Giovinazzi. But once again, my team hasn't done a great job in the pit stop phases because we've been jumped by Ricciardo in the pit, so I'm going to have to try and re-overtake the Australian now as we come out the pit on lap 8 in P20 at the moment. So me and Ricciardo really have come out of sync of this Grand Prix. We've got a lot of cars seemingly up ahead of us who are all on medium tyres or soft tyres. You can see as the two Ferrari cars try and chase down Vandoorne, who's on mediums, he finds himself coming up to the back of the Renault car. Then you've got Williams and then two Alfa Romeos, and then behind them you've got Sainz stuck behind one of the other Williams cars. So a lot of cars in this Grand Prix going longer than the top flight there on the soft and medium tyres. And so as we try and close up on Ricciardo later on in the Grand Prix, the next lap I think this is Sebastian Vettel going down the inside of Giovinazzi to try and overtake his younger teammate there down the inside of turn 1. He makes it happen, and then further down the order you've got Nico Hulkenberg trying to overtake. This will be Pascal Wehrlein, I think this is, on the right hand side, and behind those two later on the track is us trying to overtake Daniel Ricciardo. Here we go with DRS on the main straight. Should be a much easier move than the one we made earlier on him, and we re-overtake him, remember, for what will be now P19. So it's a move that I didn't think I was going to have to make because, yeah, once again for like the 5th time I think this season, I've probably banged on about it too many times already for your guys' liking, but yeah, my team just keeps on losing time in the pit lane, really. It's just quite frustrating. But we move later on to the Grand Prix. We've got, this is the Mercedes car, I think this is Max Verstappen chasing after Sergio Perez. These two out in the lead of the Grand Prix because those two started on the medium tyres, and then behind them in P3 down to about P6 this will be is the two Red Bull cars and then two Monster Rehab cars. Behind them the two Alfa Romeos, you've got the Williams car, and then Stoffel Vandoorne, your effective race leader I believe, and then you've got the two Ferraris and Carlos Sainz stuck in traffic. So a lot of us getting stuck in traffic, and that's what happened in last year's Spanish Grand Prix actually, because you had so many people opting for the medium or soft tyres, and you had all of us in the top flight obviously on the lot more less durable soft tyres at the very beginning of the Grand Prix. We all got caught out last year, and that's happening again. As you can see, Vettel, well I think it's Giovinazzi, had to make a move on the Renault. You've got Sainz going around the outside of that same Renault car, but actually struggling there. So Sainz gets held up there by the Renault car, and so the Renault putting up a fight there. To be fair to him, you know, it's not a blue flag situation. This is poor position on track, so he's got all the right to defend from Carlos Sainz, so he's got all the right to do that, so fair enough to him. You can see up ahead now Giovinazzi trying to catch up to Vettel, who's right up the gearbox of Vandoorne, who's struggling at the moment to overtake the Williams car. And both the Williams car and the two Alfa Romeos got good straight line speed. They may not have the downforce in the corners, but they've got very low drag setups down the main straight to try and defend from these top cars. And so as we move later onto the Grand Prix, further down the order, you've got, after we overtook Ricciardo, we've got Romain Grosjean, I think that is. He's gone down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, and he's up the order there. So the two McLaren cars struggling a little bit, and it's all too familiar from what we saw from last season. If you remember, we saw all too many times the two McLaren cars being so inconsistent, being very fast in qualifying potentially, and then slow in the race, or vice versa. And so it looks like they haven't solved that issue really this season. We thought they did maybe at the beginning because they were quite consistent, but it's come back to bite them once again, those problems they had from 2019 and even back to 2018 really in season 4. As we move on to lap 11 now, we've closed up to Verlaine, and he finds himself in the train behind Nico Hulkenberg, and then you've got Seta Camara there in the Williams car, who's yet to pit yet in this Grand Prix. He's gone long on the medium tyres, and so he's got all right to try and defend his position. But now I think we may finally be getting some moves here with Hulkenberg moving to the right hand side of the circuit. You can see up in the distance, but has to pull back in, so I don't think he's made the overtake as we come through trying to overtake Verlaine potentially. And Perez, we get very, very close to his rear end as Perez just comes out at the wrong time for us out the pit lane there, but we go down the inside. He's slowed down a little bit. It almost looked like he tried to brake check me and Verlaine through the entry to turn 3. We made the move. We're up into P16. It's a double overtake for us actually, so it's worked out fantastically for us. Crucially, Perez has actually stuck it down the inside and is coming back at us, so the move's not done there. There's some contact made there between his right front tyre and my left rear tyre, and so we have to go very defensive on the next corner to actually keep the position and keep that P16. As we do, we exit the corner. We can see Hulkenberg caught up behind what will be, I think that's Bottas there in the Renault car, and then Seta Camara in the Williams still. So you can see the cars ahead of the Williams car have got past this train, so it's just about getting past the slower cars, and maybe we can make a move on Hulkenberg, but he'll have DRS wide open to make the pass on Bottas, so could we maybe follow through here? We're going to make a move to actually make it 3 wide momentarily into this corner. Very cheeky move down the inside, but we've made it work. Little bit of a tank slapper on the exit for good measure, just to look cool, and we've got that pass made. And Perez, look at that, Perez, very opportunistic, he's made the move with me, so fair enough to him. So both me and Perez made the double overtake there on Nico Hulkenberg and Bottas, and to be fair to Hulkenberg, actually, he still made the move on Bottas. He just got overtaken by 2 other cars as well, which wasn't in his plan, obviously. But as we move through to the final corner now, we'll close up onto the next Williams car, but Perez has other ideas as he goes with DRS wide open on the right-hand side. Obviously, the Audi engine powering him through, but can we try and re-overtake him? We've got DRS as well from Seta Camara, so we go down the inside of turn 1, we go round the outside to turn 2, it'll turn into, and that'll be the inside for turn 3, but Perez gets it round the outside, crucially. He's actually got the downforce for it, quite surprisingly, and he's up into P13, and we have to settle for P14 for now, and we'll try and have to recompose ourselves and come back at him later on as we move on to the end of lap 13. Into sector 3 we go. Perez now getting held up, as you can see behind us. That was Verline making the move on Hulkenberg. You can see in the top left there, Verline is actually up into P15, so Verline doing pretty damn well here, making some moves. Obviously his teammate at the moment, I think, is up the order, having gone long in the first stint, but we stick it down the inside of Perez, do a bit of a switchback there, break a little bit earlier, and that's a very satisfying looking move there as we go side by side through the final corner. A little bit of a chopping at the steering wheel though, because I couldn't keep my throttle flat there. Once again, I'm really having to wrestle the car, and where I want to go flat out, the car just won't let me, and it's just on the edge of grip. And so we go down the inside though for turn 1 with DRS down that main straight, and we get Perez back again for P12, but an absolute ding-dong scrap, lap after lap, swapping positions with Perez. Not going to help my race too much, but at the moment I just can't seem to get away from him, because through the corners I'm getting away, and then down the straight he's pulling it back. Obviously Audi did have an engine upgrade for this race after Sainz had some concerns for the team from last race at Italy, so obviously they're pulling some time back in the straights here over this entire Grand Prix. But now, speaking of pulling some time on the straights, on the exit of that corner we go down the inside of Seta Camara with the overspeed we've got, and we make a nice little move there for P11 now. So we're just outside the points now. We're on the medium tyres, going a little bit longer in this Grand Prix, so we're looking good for now. Meanwhile, up ahead, Stoffel Vandoorne, the 2 Ferrari cars finally get some release of freedom there as the Williams car peels into the pit. So Vandoorne and the 2 Ferrari cars are released, but this may be bad news for Vandoorne, as here goes one of the Ferrari cars of Vettel. Giovinazzi right up his gearbox, gets boxed in there, to be fair, by his teammate actually, cheekily, as Vettel tries to go down the inside, but Vandoorne just about has enough speed to keep it ahead of him. Meanwhile, back to us, to our POV, down the main straight on lap 15 now as we go. Perez, for about the 5th millionth time in this race now, will come on the right-hand side with DRS wide open. Actually, I forgot to know, he's on the soft tyres, so actually, this entire time, I'm probably hampering his race, actually, more than he is to me, because I'm kind of ruining what should be a very aggressive stint for him compared to me on the soft tyres. So, we're going to continue to try and fight him. Obviously, it's racer's instinct, just try and re-overtake him. I've got nothing else to do in this stint. There's no other cars around me, so the only thing I can do is try and go as fast as I can to try and re-overtake Perez. But for now, he gets it into Sector 1, and up ahead, there is one of the Mercedes cars of Max Verstappen, I think that was, ahead of the Renault car. So, I think in all of this, surprisingly, somehow Max Verstappen has managed to get ahead of both me and Perez, which I'm scratching my head for, and I think he's a little bit out of sync, I want to say, at this Grand Prix, otherwise that's very impressive. But we go side by side in the same place we did initially earlier on the Grand Prix with Perez. We go, whoa, super close round the outside of him there in 4th gear, so close to making some contact, and it's so difficult as it is in that corner to go flat out on the right hander, but we will make it happen into sector 3 down the inside. This time, can we be successful to squeeze Perez out? No, we can't. He's refusing to back out Perez. He keeps it down the inside, and we're still not made the overtake there, and he's made contact with us. He's pushed us off into the grass, and we've had to take the escape road in the old last corner there, which is not in use in Formula 1 anymore at the Spanish Grand Prix, and we've had to take evasive action to just not hit the wall or go off into the Grand Prix. So at the moment, Perez, do we need to give the place back? I don't know, but there's a safety car because Romain Grosjean has been disqualified in the Grand Prix. What? So there's been a safety car that's called out, but I'm still unsure if the FIA want me to give the place back to Perez. I mean, I have no qualms to do so because, to be fair, I did go off circuit to keep the position, but if the FIA don't say I have to, then there's no point. But we're going to look at a replay now of Romain Grosjean, and he's not got any damage. I don't know, maybe is he going to come into the pits? I think Grosjean, I think he's got maybe black and orange flagged. I think maybe the FIA thinks something's wrong with his car and they disqualified him for that. I'm not too sure. Very odd. But yeah, Romain Grosjean disqualified in this race. So controversy there for the Haas Chevrolet team. I don't know, maybe the FIA found something funny in his fuel mixture and have disqualified him mid-race. But we come into the pits now under the safety car. You can see Vandoorne is into the pits earlier than us down that pit lane. So unfortunately for me, as we come in now, you can see there goes Vandoorne, and I'm going to get held up and I'm going to lose some really crucial time now in the pit lane. So we strap on the set of hard tyres to try and maybe go to the end of this Grand Prix with the aid of the safety car. Once again, we find ourselves behind the stupid McLaren Honda of Daniel Ricciardo for the second time in this race. I'm staring at the back of that car when I don't want to, coming out the pit lane. But as we come out, me and Ricciardo and even Perez are down in P19 to P20. We have really lost out in this safety car. We've lost out massively in this safety car period. We've completely been screwed. We've had a whole lot of cars now. Is there a bit of smoke there? Esteban Ocon is out of this race for, I think, a third time now in a race. As soon as the safety car comes in, Esteban Ocon is out of this Grand Prix. That's some very unfortunate bit of luck there for Ocon. I think the third time that's happened now to him. As the safety car comes in, he goes out of the Grand Prix with an engine failure. That Renault engine really not working well. But as I was saying, effectively now, as we're going green flag now, trying to close up to Ricciardo once again, we've had a whole lot of cars now ahead of us who had not made that second pit stop yet, and or even first pit stop, I think, and they made a free pit stop under the safety car, and they've legitimately jumped us in the race now. So me, Ricciardo, Perez, Sainz, I think even most of the top runners, we've all been screwed over massively. And I think now you've got a whole lot of, I think the whole lot of the top 10 are all cars that are not meant to be there usually, but they're there for position because they've got that free pit stop. As we go side by side with Ricciardo, we squeeze him out very aggressively into that high-speed chicane up the hill, up into P15, because at this point, I was very, very angry and frustrated at the safety car just coming out at a bad time for us, because we're way out of this Grand Prix now. We're so far away from points now. It's not even funny at this point for our race. But meanwhile, up ahead, we've got Stoffel Vandoorne, my teammate, trying to overtake the Renault car. He does so successfully. That will be Valtteri Bottas, of course, as Ocon's out of this race. He goes down the inside. Meanwhile, up ahead, you've got Sebastian Vettel, who's jumped Vandoorne in the pit stop phases there. So Vettel, at the moment, I believe, would be the first man in the top flight in the Grand Prix. But meanwhile, on track at least, it is a 1-2 for Mercedes, and then 3-4, it's Monster Rehab. So this race is completely on its head at the moment. You've got so many cars who are not usually meant to be in the top four. It's crazy. It's great, though, for us, I guess. Not so great for me down in P15 at the moment, floundering with 13 laps to go only. So now I'm going to try and overtake Carlos Sainz. That's the only thing good about this safety car, is now I'm finding myself once again fighting Carlos Sainz, and maybe potentially later on the Ferrari cars as we've closed up with the safety car. Obviously, it's all bunched us up now. But as we move on now to the end of Sector 2 on lap 20, you can see we're going to try and get some slipstream. No DRS quite yet. Giovinazzi trying to overtake the Renault car. He does so down the inside of Bottas, and I copy his move basically on Carlos Sainz, but he's still there on the outside for us, unfortunately. So as we go through to the left hand, as Sainz squeezes through just like Bottas does on Giovinazzi. So those two still go hammer and tong side by side through the next few corners. Bottas really putting up a fight there against the Italian in the Ferrari, and Sainz has completely got us there, kind of barged his way through on the grass a little bit. So very aggressive. Look at this, look how bunched up we're getting now. Bottas is becoming an absolute bottleneck now in this entire lineup of cars now, as the Ferrari and Audi go side by side. Sainz going to try and power pass on the right hand side. The Renault guy is just about hanging on, but you got so many cars here just separated by less than a second. Look at this overhead shot. Is there absolute chaos? 6 cars literally all kind of intertwined all in a row down the main straight. That's absolutely crazy, and we somehow managed to come through unscathed up into P12 now, overtaking Bottas. You can see though our car is definitely not unscathed still giving me issues, still having to wrestle this car through the corners here, even more so on the hard tyres, which are just such disgusting tyres at the Spanish Grand Prix. Really, they just don't really want to bite into the tarmac really. And you can see up ahead, Sainz has got ahead of Giovinazzi there, unfortunately for him. And so as we move later on, we can see further up the road, Sebastian Vettel and Vandoorne trying to navigate the next few cars up the road. And remember, all these guys have made a free pit stop, so they're all there legitimately. They can fight their position, and they don't even have to make an extra pit stop compared to the likes of Vandoorne and Vettel behind them, because they all got that free pit stop off the safety car. So absolute chaos there, and I believe it's still the 2 Mercedes cars leading the way. Behind them, the 2 Monster Rehab cars. So as we move on to lap 22 now, we've got just about 10 laps left now as we move on to lap 23 in this Grand Prix, and we're still just trying to fight to get in the top 10 here. Absolutely crazy. And we can see Carlos Sainz making the move to try and re-overtake Giovinazzi. So Giovinazzi must have re-overtaken Sainz there, and we missed it, but now Sainz coming back. There's a bit of contact there, a bit of smoke as they make some contact. Very, very close up. Sainz has completely squeezed Giovinazzi out, and he's gotten very, very under pressure there, and we come swooping down the inside of the exit of turn 3, and Giovinazzi's got completely flustered there and being completely just pushed down there by both of us, and so he's down the order and maybe under pressure from Sergio Perez very, very soon. So we're up the order, trying to chase after Carlos Sainz now to get into that top 10 position for what will be 1 point at the moment that Carlos Sainz has. Absolute chaos that we've got so many cars ahead of us still in this Grand Prix, and we're fighting the likes of Sainz though. And so as we move later onto the Grand Prix though, on the next straight, we've got Giovinazzi coming back at us though with DRS wide open. We've got DRS, but he's got some great speed there on the left hand side. We have to try and defend into turn 1 on the inside line. Very, very close stuff between our left front tyre and his right side pod there through turn 3. Can I hold it through in 4th gear or 5th? Going to try our best to squeeze him out there, and we'll just about maybe do it. But Giovinazzi's going to get a second bite of the grip there, round the outside into turn 4, into sector 2, and we're having to still hang it down the inside. He's going to have the inside line, and we get very, very close to his rear end there. So close. He's going to fit a piece of paper between my nose cone there and his gearbox. So close. Can we get a better exit though into the high-speed chicane? I'm going to have a look. Not going to work. Unlike the Audi car, or maybe the cars of the McLaren or the other cars, I couldn't make the dive bomb move down the inside there. Would have ended up in a crash, I would think, in my personal opinion. So we stick behind Giovinazzi and have to just try and follow him through and try maybe make the overtake later on in the Grand Prix. Speaking about later on in the Grand Prix, we've got Max Verstappen still leading the way in the Spanish Grand Prix. Behind him, it's not Pascal Wehrlein because he's made a pit stop now. It's actually Sophia Flörsch in 2nd place, leading Mick Schumacher, who's also in 3rd place there with the DRS wide open. So the 2 monster rehab cars in P2 and P3, but it's an all top 3 monster team, I guess you could say. Monster cars in the top 3 flight there, followed by the 2 Alfa Romeo cars, then the 2 Williams cars, and then Sebastian Vettel and Vandoorne. Crazy to say that, followed by 2 Alfa Romeos and 2 Williams cars, but right now they're doing a fabulous job at staying ahead of all these cars who should be really in those positions. And so as we move much later onto the Grand Prix, that 26 now, we've only got a couple of laps left to go in this Grand Prix, but you can see it's so overcast now. The clouds have formed so quickly over the Spanish Grand Prix, and I think there may be some rain to come. So this is going to be very interesting for the end of this Grand Prix as we close up right up the gearbox Giovinazzi, but the dirty air just not allowing us to really keep the grip. As you can see, I lost the back end there, had to go opposite lock in the corner, still having to wrestle the car through, and you can see just everyone is finding the same difficulty of being stuck in the dirty air there, and it's all too familiar from the 2017 real life season, I guess, that we watch right now as we tried to make the move against Giovinazzi, couldn't slip it down the inside, so we stay in P12 for now. And so as we move through the final stages of this Grand Prix with only a finite amount of laps left, Sebastian Vettel is here, stuck behind the 2 Williams cars, but he's getting fed up of it, and on the main straight I think he's going to have enough speed to potentially get this. He'll have DRS wide open at this stage as well. There he goes. He's going to move to the right hand side of the circuit to make the move on the right hand side down the inside. He should have the speed, and behind them it looks like the Audi car also trying to maybe have a look at Stoffel Vandoorne. As they go into turn 1 though, Vettel sticks behind and he can't make the move. So this is very frustrating for the top guys here, unable to still make that pass. And so as we move on to the dying stages now, with only a couple of laps left of this Grand Prix at the moment, you've got Max Verstappen way out still in the lead of this Grand Prix miraculously, and he continues on for one more lap. You've got Mick Schumacher continuing on. You've got, I think that was Sophia Flörsch into the pits actually, so I think Mick Schumacher is up into 2nd place, Sophia into the pits, also the Alfa Romeo, and a whole gaggle of cars comes to the pits. So I don't know if are they all coming on for inters? I'm not too sure at this stage. Giovinazzi continues on. I continue on with Sergio Perez. I think Vandoorne's also come in, so I think those cars must be coming in for a very early intermediate pit stop stage. They know more than I do and more than Perez and Giovinazzi do, as Perez overtakes me into turn 1 and we go a little bit wayward, a bit of drifting into turn 1, and it looks like the track's getting very slippery indeed now. Very rapidly the rain is coming down very quickly, so on towards the next lap Verstappen eventually does come around the circuit for his pit stop. The same with Mick Schumacher, and so they come down the pit lane. Verstappen, I think, is going to be, he was so far ahead that I think even if he lost some time there, I think he's still coming out quite amazingly, still in 1st place. I mean, look at that, completely clean air on the right hand side of him. And so Max Verstappen comes out still in 1st place of the Grand Prix, and we come through just about in one piece into the pit stop now, finally on a very soaking track. Sophia Flörsch will come into 2nd place once more, with Mick Schumacher taking 3rd once again in this race. With only 4 laps to go, you can see the pit lanes are absolutely soaked, and we got that so wrong. Myself, Perez, and I think it was also Giovinazzi, because the track looked dry the last lap, and then instantly, as we went through that lap, the rain just came down like nothing. It was like watching the rain come down in London or something like that. Just like 1 second it's dry, and then second, like the 5 months of rain comes down in 1 second here. And so in Spain, completely torrential rain, and my team have put me on full wet tyres because they think we can gamble on this. I mean, at the moment, we're all the way down towards the last end of the positions. I think we're in P18 or something like that at the moment, so it's worth the gamble. I'll try anything. We've been screwed over by the safety car, and now screwed over by this very late pit stop for Inters, and so we may as well try it. But later on, with the dying few laps now, we've got the Audi car. I think this is Carlos Sainz trying to finally overtake one of the Alfa Romeo cars with the speed. Obviously, at this stage, no DRS, just pure slipstream and speed of the engine. Carlos Sainz goes down the inside. He'll squeeze out the Alfa Romeo, and he'll get up the position. And up ahead, you can see the Ferrari car trying to get ahead and chase after some cars up ahead. And up front, you've got Sebastian Vettel here in P4 trying to chase down Mick Schumacher in P3 to have some revenge. Remember, at Austria, Mick was the one who overtook Sebastian in the last dying stage of that Grand Prix to get a podium. So Sebastian trying to do the same to Mick and get some revenge. But out ahead is Max Verstappen. This man we're seeing on screen right now, somehow still leading the Spanish Grand Prix. This is literally mind-boggling. The man who we thought maybe was leaving Mercedes mid-season potentially. All this talk about him at least leaving at the end of the season potentially. So unhappy with Mercedes, and somehow they're coming through at the moment to be leading the Spanish Grand Prix with their two other kind of B-team cars in second and third. Meanwhile, Stoffel Vandoorne down the inside of the Alfa Romeo car to try and chase after the next car up ahead, which is Carlos Sainz. So Vandoorne round the outside of turn one to go up the order to get some more crucial points for himself in the championship. Meanwhile, back to us, we're being overtaken by Daniel Ricciardo, who's also down here with me. Very, very unlucky for both of us. Obviously, we're both in the top two of the standings, and both of us very unlucky to be down here out of the points and basically fighting for the wooden spoon. And you can see here, mine and the team's gamble has not worked. We tried to gamble. I thought maybe the rain was coming down so fast there in the dying stages that I thought, okay, maybe it's going to get to full wet so fast. It just didn't come, and it was just the wrong call for me. I'll admit that it was the wrong call for us and the team, and so we got overtaken by Ricciardo there. It doesn't really mean too much because both of us, all of us, are out of the points there at that tail end. So it's going to be, though, at the end of it, Max Verstappen has come through to win the Spanish Grand Prix, with Sebastian Vettel there at the end, you saw, did get P3 in the end and overtook Mick Schumacher. But Max Verstappen, absolutely crazy, the 2019 reigning world champion. He's had so much bad luck. Mercedes haven't had their season so far in 2020, but somehow, through all of it, some luck with the safety car, the full rain as well, he's come through to win that Spanish Grand Prix. Absolutely bonkers. And Sophia Flourish, absolutely amazing to get second place there. And Vettel, to be fair to him, he's done well to get revenge on Mick, to get third place there for that podium that he'll really crucially need to try and kickstart his season once more here at the Spanish Grand Prix. But what a hectic Grand Prix once again. Even more hectic, I want to say, than the Italian Grand Prix. Massively, massively crazy Grand Prix. But if you guys have enjoyed that one, smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for week one content. I've been Eva. Hope you rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Let's go to the post-race questions. Goodbye.
Pretty torrid afternoon for you there, Arav. You got massively unlucky with the safety car, but then did you and the team just gamble too much at the end of that race?
Yeah, I think ultimately, yeah, we just tried to do too much too quickly at the end of the race there, pretty much. I mean, as you said, with the safety car, our race was pretty much, I think, gone at that point. So I think we just went, screw it, we'll just try do something. From where I could see, going from such a dry track to such a wet track and immediately intermediates, I thought logically maybe it was going to get even wetter, even faster, maybe within even like one lap it could have been the full wet tyres. So I thought we'd go for the gamble. If it had paid off, then we would have been absolute heroes on the right tyre at the right time then the next lap, and we would have been on pace. But unfortunately the rain kind of just leveled off there, unfortunately for us. So yeah, I mean, you try the gamble, but we had got screwed over with the safety car already, which was just the unluckiest thing ever, because we were right in the middle of the pack, we were fine, and then yeah, pretty much every car that had not made a stop then at that point had got a free entire pit stop, so they basically effectively just jumped us for no reason in terms of it was just purely because of the safety car. So yeah, that was just unfortunate.
And it looks like you jinxed your own words from Italy, with Verstappen coming out very surprisingly to win this race after starting from outside the top 10. Any second thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know what to say, really. It was very astonishing when I came across the line. The engineer told me who had won the race, and I had to kind of question him for a second and just kind of repeat that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to keep on talking about our own chances at Jaguar, and maybe Stoffel and mine's chances in previous races, maybe to get to a little bit rub the green that way.
Well, you still lead the championship pretty comfortably, but going into the summer break, how confident are you of keeping that lead?
Yeah, as you said, we got a little bit lucky today with not only were we the ones having problems, but a lot of the top guys were having problems, and one of them was Ricardo. So, yeah, we're okay in the championship for now. Obviously, we've had a few people close up to Stoffel in the standings, and generally the mid-pack is very, very tight. I wouldn't even say mid-pack. Well, the top pack is very, very tight. So after the summer break, I think obviously people have upgrades planned. I don't think there may be any kind of major ones coming straight away after the summer. I think with the way the calendar is this year, with a few flyaways after the summer break, I don't think you'll be seeing so many immediate major package overhauls until we get back to the little tiny kind of second European stint of the calendar. And the car for this race was acting a little bit strange in some corners. I don't think we got the setup quite right. It wasn't as planted as I have wanted it to. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of work for us and every single team to do. And I think you may see a few little surprises come the kind of European stint.
As always, thanks for your time.
All right, cheers. Thanks a lot.